is just fantastic. Captain's log, subdate 210215.9. Ship efficiency of the USS Arcadia now sits at 60%. Clearly, Warrant Officer Crumble is a motivated member of my crew. I could now grant replicator access to all officers. Crewmen, though, can suck on ration packs and hydroponics. So today I thought I'd do another one of my kind of opinion videos, but targeted on an individual-ish. What I thought I'd do is talk about the copyright system, but also how one handles criticism, because they both intertwined, depending on the kind of person that you are. So this will be an aspect of how one handles the criticisms. If a creator, for example, makes a video on you and you are a creator of some kind or not, you have options to explore. These options do depend on what you've been criticized for and how you yourself handle being criticized. So for example, if they're right, you could accept they're right. You can double down, which I'll be honest, does lead to more fun options. Or you could hash things out, which does lead on from the if they're right, you accept they're right. Depends how you deal with that. If one wishes to do so. Some people aren't interested in that. They'll just criticize you and move on. They're not interested in an adult's discussion because it means having to come to terms with a mistake. The other would be that if they're wrong, you could debunk them, or you could ignore them. There are other options that could be considered equally as much fun, but they're rarely explored, to be honest. So for this, we're going to use creators, who best represent the differing handlings of criticisms. You have, for example, Def Noodles, who will use the "it's just a joke, bro," but in his case, it's just a character, bro. Oh, and you're now blocked on all my accounts. I no longer have to see what you have to say, because I'm big brave, yo. You have prison mate Luke, who will concede that he's wrong, but then at the same time say that he's still right, because he will arbitrarily shift the goalposts to suit his original point that you clearly didn't understand, because he's nuanced, yo. You have Susie Lou, who sticks her fingers in her ears and goes la 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 and now you're struck, because she's also big brave. All three of them are, in fact. The final one is Lyssy Noel, who I had never heard of until Tipster made his video on her. I'm going to link that video as well, by the way. The new Susie Lou, because she's different. Unlike Susie Lou, who just strikes you because she doesn't understand the copyright system, Lyssy seems to understand this, and is okay with it regardless. So she'll DM you, and threaten to flag, which her stans will do anyway because they don't seem to understand the copyright system, nor what it means to be criticized if you've made a mistake. And the whole threatening to flag thing kinda proved his point, really, didn't it? You are the new Susie Lou. Congratulations, Lyssy. I hope you are so proud of yourself. And just to go back for a moment, I know that Def Noodles did have a live stream with Augie, and all I learnt from that was, Augie can be quite insufferable after a few hours. But that is nothing compared to a guy who is so utterly self-righteous. Isn't that right, Dennis? Now, while the first two, i.e. Def Noodles and prison mate Luke, are interesting, I don't really care about the defective Leafy clone, nor the comedian, air quotes, and neither one are relevant to this topic about the copyright system. Susie Lou is, but we have covered her before in an exhibition of stupid people. I will link that video down below. It'll be underneath Tipster's videos on Lyssy. Now we're going to move on to the copyright system itself. The first rule of copyright: creators should only upload videos that they have made or that they are authorized to use. That means that they should not upload videos that they didn't make, or use content in their videos that someone else owns the copyright to, such as music tracks, snippets of copyrighted programs, or videos made by other users without necessary authorizations. When you really think about it, you have to wonder and marvel how Susie Lou is still on YouTube, since all she does is directly rip off other people's hard work. Next, I want to read fair use, because this is also relevant. Fair use is a US law that allows the reuse of copyright protected material under certain circumstances, without getting permission from the copyright owner. In the UK, uses for purposes such as criticism, review, quotation, parody, caricature, and some other word I don't even know, might be considered fair dealing, but it can depend on the situation. So for example, playing an entire episode of an anime with it slightly transparent on your screen is not fair use in the slightest. It really isn't. It just makes your screen look like it has a really dodgy watermark. So how does Lyssy Noel fit into this? Well, she struck a channel. The video was called I Found the Worst 3 AM Channel. Within it, she received a fair amount of criticism, and she didn't take it well. Being such a large creator, her response was to be big brave and tell her fans to report them for bullying in a now deleted tweet. Oh, and I want to make this point quite clear now. It is utterly classless to compare criticism to bullying and then link it to depression and suicide. It is a point many have not made. Don't make false equivalences. I'm going to link that jackass, his Twitter and his YouTube. Go give him a follow and give him a subscribe. His video was parody, something he later confirmed when he quote retweeted you. But apparently you can't handle that either. Hell, you couldn't handle the criticisms from Tipster, so he made a video with the DMs. That was embarrassing, wasn't it? Yes, some of your stans did go to him and make some threats, assert a few points, but in truth, oh boy, you don't know the system, do you? You might think yourself above it. There are other creators I've earlier mentioned, in fact, who believe themselves above criticism. They also believe themselves above the community as a whole. The YouTube community as a whole hold those that falsely flag or copyright strike other channels as one of the lowest forms of creator. And because you believe yourself above all of that, you can't handle it when someone tells you there are unwritten rules and there are written rules. The written rules are the copyright system and fair use. The unwritten rule is not to flag someone else. Because in the long run, this will just harm you. People will now know you as a false copyright flagger. Someone who will misuse the system. You now get to be on par with Onision, with Susie Liu, with Mundane Matt. Those names are hardly illustrious. With anyone that receives a false copyright strike, I will restate the advice of Tipster. Counter it. Yes, in many cases that requires handing over personal information, but I would point out, if the person crosses that line, they have broken the law. You should always counter because the system should protect you. In some instances, it won't. Just the music industry, basically. Or anything owned by Nintendo and Disney. So everything. But let's get back to the point. Since that first video that Jackass made, which was removed to a copyright claim, he made a follow-up video. Lyssy Noel decided to issue a privacy complaint, which is absolute cringe. Seriously. I actually watched his video, by the way. It's good. He puts you on blast, he mentions the challenges you were doing, you're targeting it to children. It's kinda crap. The last video I've seen of him covering this is him thanking for the support. Again, I will say this, please give him the support. Subscribe, follow, watch all his content. He's actually quite entertaining. Far better than me. As I'm done here, I kinda want to know what you think about Lyssy Noel. Do let me know in the comments down below. As a final thing to Lyssy Noel, learn to take criticism, you feckless worm. And you have to be a feckless worm if you can't handle it. Stop misusing the copyright system, learn what fair use is, and if you try to DM me like you did Tipster, don't bother. You just go into the requested box and I never check it. I hope everyone has a fantastic day and thank you all very much for listening.